Hey y'all, it is April the 15th, 2019, affectionately known as Tax Day. Alright, better turn in those taxes. I waited till the last minute, I'm gonna have to do it today. Alright, it's been a lot of stuff on my plate, as there's a lot of stuff that I'm sure is on y'all's plates out there. Very busy individuals. Highly effective, intelligent individuals out there, especially coming to this channel, having had found me from out of nowhere. I thank you and I appreciate y'all. I want to say about this documentary that I got a brewing that, most of y'all here on this channel know about. I want to say it's coming along, and of course it's coming along a little bit slower than I would like, all right? Appreciate all y'all and your patience out there, but it is coming along. I am compiling a whole mess of videos, as you can see right there. I'm just compiling and compiling. All of it that I'm doing, trust me, I know, is only icing on the cake, all right? For the people who I want to see my documentaries, y'all already basically know everything that I'm talking about. All right, not trying to convince y'all of anything. I don't have to convince y'all of anything. All right, and it's a special relationship that we got here. We have an understanding. It's just that we're showing each other what we already know, basically. And there's a lot of key figures out there. Too many to name right now, but Joseph Callan for show. Bob Norman all day. All right, the production is coming along, and trust me, it's coming. All right, that's what I got on my mind. It's in the background, it's all the time, all right? And so that's coming across, just to let y'all know. And here's the thing, it could be a spoiler alert depending on how you think about it, but the documentary that I got coming out is going to be filled with a lot of icing on the cake, all right? And basically it's going to be, just so that y'all know, just so that if I die today, it's going to be about the ritualistic seeming sacrifice, burnings, and all sort of just bizarre things taking place in and around this Parkland incident, and celebrating it all day, every day for years to come, probably. All right, they're going to go ahead and burn this building this temple that they built. They're going to burn it down, and of course that's a ritualistic looking, sacrifice type looking thing. And this is what they do in weird places like the Burning Man, where that sort of stuff happens. All right, not only that, but that's going to coincide, and they're still arguing and debating over whether or not, or when to knock down this building. I guess the question these days is, when are we going to knock down this building, building 12? When are we going to get rid of it? We need to get rid of it. When are we going to get rid of it? Sooner or later? All right, is it going to be real soon, or is it going to be years from now? I don't know why who's asking these questions, like who inevitably comes up with the solution as to when they knock down that building. They both coincide. The temple burning, that's like a ritualistic burning of all our lives. We're gonna pile them up and we're gonna burn them away and get away with everything. All right, and it's involving all sort of people who are innocent, who just don't even know better. All right, they're going in thinking that they're doing a good thing. No, they're participating in a ritualistic burning of a temple. All right, for some reason. All right, not only that, they're going to knock down that building. That's getting rid of the evidence. Oh man, nobody knows. We're just going to whisk it all away, and nobody's ever going to find out. That's the plan. All right. Mind you, okay, just to be real simple about the building, gunshots were heard by many different various witnesses, to include deputies. They were heard from all over that campus, to one degree or another. For example, by the football field, it sounded like there was gunshots right by the football field. And In different various places over the campus, people heard some sort of sound, some sort of poppings, all right? So that being said, you heard it all over campus? All the deputies heard it? They were hearing it by the football field? Okay, you heard the gunshots like that? Well, then you probably would have heard the gunshots all throughout the building, wouldn't you not? Building 12, on every floor, right? To some extent. Right, so they were trying to play games as though they didn't know it could have been a fire drill, it could have been gunshots. No, y'all heard the gunshots. Y'all had to hear the gunshots. Right. Meanwhile, all you had to do is go up in the building, do some testing. I don't know what the CSI protocol is on that, and you'll figure out that you're going to hear gunshots all throughout that building, meaning some sort of tomfoolery went on. And we all know that tomfoolery went on. Right? My documentary is nothing but icing on the cake. All sort of tomfoolery went on. They're getting rid of that evidence just as you would expect them to do so. All right, they're burning a temple as though that's not completely bizarre. All right, that's what they're doing. The thing is, production on a documentary is coming along. And of course, I'll let y'all know and I'll give y'all updates. Trying to do some things out there. It's time constraints, basically. You know, I need a producer is what I need, but I don't have one. So things are coming along, and you know, I'll let you know as they do. They'll either be on this channel, or you can find me on BitChute and Brighteon. Of course, I'm leaving links down below. Go ahead and subscribe to those. All sort of different. Forget YouTube. You know what I'm saying? All right. So with that being said, I also wanted to give y'all an update on what I've been looking over very recently. In fact, basically for the majority of last night, all right? Kind of comes out of left field. Here's the thing. I've been doing this research on Parkland, Nicholas Cruz, Marjorie Stoneman Douglas, Broward County. I've been doing all that sort of research, all right? And it leads me off into different little rabbit holes, as I'm sure it does for a lot of y'all out there. All right, sometimes I slip down what seem like random rabbit holes, because YouTube will like recommend a video from out of the sidebar, and I won't have no choice but to click on some of the videos. All right, so I get led down rabbit holes. The latest one last night, and I'm gonna go ahead and give you some examples. The latest one last night was Charlie Manson. All right, Charles Manson, or however you might know him. Everybody knows him. It's a household name. All right, that's been made so. All right, it wouldn't have been a household name were it not for the media all over the place. Point blank, period. This is way back in the day. This is when I was a little kid, and even before I was born, type stuff. All right, this is way back. Charles Manson. He's still a household name. People still know who he is, although they don't exactly know much about the case. And, you know, I had to admit, neither do I. All right, I never knew too much about the case. I'd heard the thing about the murders, the mass murders and the killings. And I heard that Charles Manson, he wasn't there and stuff like that. All right, so I got a better taste of it last night. I started getting more of a feel of what was going on during these murders, the case afterward, all the legal proceedings and stuff like that. I started to become more acquainted, and I was actually looking over various Charles Manson interviews. All right, what's interesting to note is that, of course, Nicholas Cruz hasn't been in the spotlight for nearly as long as Charles Manson, but we don't have no interviews. Ain't no interviews with Nicholas Cruz, right? How long did it take for Charles Manson to get one of these big public interviews where he could just say what he wants, and they blasted all over 60 Minutes and Dateline and stuff like that? How long did that take? All right. The thing is, Charles Manson wound up having a number of different interviews. For some reason, it was sensational. For some reason, the media could not get enough Charles Manson. So they had all sort of interviews with Charles Manson, and I was all watching them, being fairly, like I said, you know, not very familiar with the whole situation. I was just absorbing. All right. I think it's very important to hear what people have to say. And like I said, Nicholas Cruz, he can't talk to you. He can't talk to none of us. All right. They have some sort of letters where he's corresponding. I don't even know if I believe that, because a long time ago they said they were giving him no letters. All right, so that doesn't make any sense. All right, but that's for those who are very familiar with the ins and outs of Nicholas Cruz in this case. All right, you ain't heard a mumbling word from Nicholas Cruz explaining himself, but you have heard bizarre things in the legal proceedings. For example, him wanting to give all his a whole bunch of money to the tune of hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars to charities to help the victims of the shooting. All right, why was that even in the media? I mean, was that... None of this makes sense. It's all extremely bizarre. For example, they tried to tie Nicholas Cruz to white supremacy. Nicholas Cruz is quite clearly a partially white, all right? And his last name is Cruz. How much you want to bet with a half brother who's black that he's some sort of white supremacist? Start to understand that I was kind of made up. The thing is about Charles Manson is I always heard that sort of stuff about him. He's some sort of white supremacist, and he's like a cult leader and stuff like this. I can't tell you one way or another. I don't know how guilty he is, how guilty he's not. I can't tell you anything like that. I'm not an expert on that. But here's the problem with Charles Manson. He did have those interviews. He does not seem white supremacist. You might say, oh, he's got a Nazi symbol on his head. Oh, well, you might want to hear his explanation for that symbol. All right? You kind of find out he does not seem white supremacist at all. He had all this time, people interviewing him to spout off about white supremacy, and he never does. All right, so you see how the media for decades now been trying to portray him, and by the way, he's deceased now, been trying to portray him as some sort of white supremacist. That's besides the fact. It's like, is he guilty or not guilty? That's all I want to know. Whether or not he's a white supremacist has nothing to do with anything, and he never brought it up. All right, so isn't that weird? All right, so I was studying Charles Manson. Here's the thing about it. And it's pretty much a universal truth, but it's just very much exemplified in a Charles Manson. If you want to believe that he's very guilty of everything he's been accused of and more, if that's what you want to believe, you still have to be forced to know that Charles Manson, just like anybody else, can tell the truth. All right? And there was some pretty hard truths that he laid down, but some of the truths that he put across, a number of them, quite profound, right? And as it turns out in 2019, even though Charles Manson is no longer with us, as it turns out, he was extremely right about a lot of stuff, right? About a whole bunch of stuff, namely what you do to Charles Manson, you're going to do to yourself. That is what you're doing to yourself. That is the truth, whether or not you want to accept it. All right? You might say, oh, he's a murderer, he's a bad guy, he's the worst guy. Too bad he told the truth. The truth can come out of anybody's mouth. It doesn't matter who. All right, the more you listen to people speak, inevitably the truth will come out. Whether or not he's guilty, he doesn't seem very guilty as far as what he had been accused of. That's the thing. It's not too much evidence. As far as evidence goes, from what I've seen, as far as Charles Manson goes, for being a cult leader and this and that, all the evidence that they have is basically he said, she said. All right. From what I've seen. So I don't know if he's guilty or not guilty. All I do know is that he was saying some things that truly are affecting us today, especially exemplified up in this Nicholas Cruz case. Right? Because what we do to Nicholas Cruz is what we do to ourselves, is what we do to our children and everybody we love. All right, and most of us know that out here, and that's how we found each other here. It's because we know that if we take away Nicholas Cruz's rights, we are taking away our own rights as Americans. And it seems as though Nicholas Cruz also understands that fact. All right, like it seems as though I've never heard Nicholas Cruz, but it seems through his supposed letters and his writings that he also understands that. All right. And I'll bring it back to the, we don't want to make this too long of a video, but I'll bring it back to this. This Charles Manson was labeled a racist and a white supremacist. I know y'all heard those sort of things because I heard those sort of things. All right, it's that Mandela effect. It's the media effect of just pounding it into our brains. There's all sort of serial killers and cult leaders and stuff that we never even knew about because the media just didn't even bring them up. All right, they pounded the Charles Manson thing straight into our brains. Said, oh, he's a Nazi and a white supremacist. What they did easily was transfer that over to Nicholas Cruz. All right, they said, oh, he's a Nazi and a white supremacist. And the perfect example is, I believe it was on the magazines or somewhere on the gun, supposedly, that it was carved in swastika symbols. All right, if there wasn't a mountain of evidence that all sort of tomfoolery is going on and people are lying and all these little children are actors and they're not survivors in any way, all right, if that wasn't enough, they carved swastika symbols on the guns because that's their little Charles Manson move. All right, he must be a monster, and it creates this effect, and we already know that people, they hear, oh, the swastika symbol, oh man, it's forbidden and stuff like that. He must be like Charles Manson. All right, that's the effect that they're having. Meanwhile, they took away all his rights. In no way is Nicholas Cruz benefiting from all this publicity, and in no way are we benefiting from all this publicity of Nicholas Cruz in Parkland. In fact, it's a weapon being used against us. It's been used against us for decades and decades now on the television. All right, ever since Charles Manson, and it's the same formula. These people are desperate. Like you wouldn't believe. Extremely desperate. All right? And we don't believe them, and it's a lot of us. All right, so we're going to see what they're going to do next. And like I said, we're going to eat their lunch. YouTube ain't going to stop us. All right, y'all. It's April the 15th of 2019.